So today we're going to learn about the Enlightenment. We have two daily objectives. Number one, explain what started the scientific revolution. And number two, compare John Locke and Thomas Hobbes. So we've talked a lot about the Reformation, the end of the Catholic Church's stranglehold on power in the European continent. Now the Reformation, the Protestant Reformation, had a tremendous impact on the average person. For the first time, people could read the Bible themselves. They could form opinions about their religion themselves. The power of the Pope radically reduced. Radically reduced. So instead of the best and the brightest joining the church, like they did before the Protestant Reformation, now they're becoming humanists. Remember, these are highly educated individuals that are trying to make the world a better place. Now, a group of humanists, unafraid of the Catholic Church, were willing to challenge the old norms. What you need to know is humanism plus the Reformation plus European exploration leads us to the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment. So, scientific revolution. First important guy by the name of Copernicus. Copernicus comes up with this idea called heliocentric theory. So the Earth revolves around the sun. Before Copernicus, people believed that the entire universe revolved around Earth because God made Earth and God made man, and that's the most important thing in the world because God made it. Copernicus challenges that, gets a lot of hate for it from the Catholic Church. Another guy, Kepler, he believed that planets had an elliptical orbit instead of a circular orbit. Galileo wrote a book called Starry Messenger. As a result, Galileo is imprisoned by the church. He's forced to recant, and he dies in captivity. Scientific method, going to be one of the big innovations of the scientific revolution. Scientific method, as you've probably learned in science class, is just a logical procedure for gathering and testing ideas. Another important guy in scientific revolution, Sir Isaac Newton. He does not invent gravity. A lot of times you guys say he invents gravity. He did not invent gravity. Gravity was already around. He discovered gravity as well as the three laws of motion. Now, eventually, the scientific method is going to spread to medicine as well as the human body. People are going to start creating antibiotics really into the 19th and 20th century, but especially early surgeries really took off at this point. Now let's talk about the Enlightenment. So this is my favorite Enlightenment philosopher, my third bromance of the class, Thomas Hobbes. So Thomas Hobbes was a guy living in England during the English Civil War. He actually flees to France along with the king's son when Oliver Cromwell took over the country. We've already learned about all this. Now, Thomas Hobbes describes life without government as nasty, brutish, and short. His idea is that without government to enforce the law, without government to make people act right, because people are naturally bad, life would be nasty and brutish and short. It would be lots of murder, lots of torture, lots of bad things. Your life would suck. And in order to escape this terrible, terrible life, people must pick a strong ruler to lead them. The rights that people give up for protection by the ruler, that's called the social contract. So the people come up with a contract, an agreement. They all agree to it. And part of that agreement is they pick a strong ruler who then arbitrates that agreement to all of the people. Now, Thomas Hobbes believed that because people are selfish and inherently bad, the ruler, the guy in charge of the social contract, must be absolute. So Thomas Hobbes believes that absolute monarchy is the best form of government, one king or queen with all of the power. Now, this is very different than John Locke. John Locke is another Enlightenment philosopher, also of England. Now, he believes that people could improve themselves and get better through education, through time, through lots of things. This, again, classical humanism, as we've discussed. He also believed that people, as reasonable beings, could govern their own lives. People are not naturally bad. They're naturally good. They want to do the best thing for themselves, for their family, for their society at whole. He criticized absolute monarchies like Thomas Hobbes liked and favored self-government, so think democracy. He believed that all people are born free and equal with the right to life, liberty, and property. If this sounds familiar, this is because this is where Thomas Jefferson got the idea for the Declaration of Independence. He believes that government, the purpose of government, is to protect these three rights: life, liberty, and property. And he also believed that if a government fails to protect those three rights, people have a right to rebel. Now, colonists in the 13 colonies believed that the English king had broken their right to life, liberty, and property, all three, and they used John Locke as justification for a revolutionary war against their British masters. This is the social contract in a nutshell. So on the left, we have the king, the government. On the right, we have the people. So the people write a social contract, and the person who executes that social contract, make sure everybody follows it, is the king. So the king protects the rights of the people, and in exchange, the people give the king power to enforce the social contract. But if the king misuses power, they break the social contract, then the people have a right to replace or overthrow the government or king. That's the social contract in a nutshell. Take a few minutes, answer your 2 daily objectives.